Hi, I'm Molly Celaschi at the Renaissance Austin Hotel for the Fangoria Convention in Austin, Texas. Sitting with me is William Lustig, director of Maniac and Maniac Cop 1 through 3. He's also the head of Blue Underground Films.
Blue Underground.
Yes, Blue Underground. Okay. So let's talk about Maniac, one of my favorite films, very disturbing, very gritty, very real. Awesome performance by Joe. And how did you come up with it? Why make this particular type of film?
Well, back in the late '70s, there was a series of serial killers. It was kind of a new phenomenon that was reported in the press about Son of Sam, and there was Gacy, and there was a whole slew of these people in that period. And Joe and I kind of thought that these were really the ultimate monsters. And Joe did a lot of research on these serial killers, and what he came up with was a character that was a compilation of these serial killers, and all I did was inject the character into situations and set pieces that we that we shot in New York, and that was really it. It was a real collaborative effort between Joe and myself.
Okay, well, in the 70s, I know that this is huge for women's liberation. A lot of feelings and attitudes towards women were changing, especially in the workplace and things like that. So did any of that factor into the film, or are any of the scenes or characters in it based on anything that, like a person you have known or something you've seen?
Well, the thing you mentioned is about the politics of feminism at that time, and we really did not think about that. But the film became a lightning rod for feminists, and I never quite understood that, because there were men who were killed as well as women, and yet it became this this cause for women's groups that we were somehow an anti-women movie. And really what we were about was a movie about scaring people, and a vulnerable, sexy woman tends to play better on screen than...
More sympathetic. If you see a pretty girl, you don't want her harmed.
Exactly. I mean, there is inherent emotions on that. There's definitely that. And you know, and again, we had a very strong character in Caroline Munro. I mean, it wasn't like it was all the women in the film were depicted as victims. But it was not a conscious political statement for us. I think the twist was the woman who was the most vocal, a woman in California, the head of the NOW organization, stood in front of the theater on Hollywood Boulevard and protested the movie, and a year later was arrested for being an accomplice to a murder.
Oh, that's nice.
And I just never got over that. I mean, you know, here we were, you know,
you were the bad person for making a movie about a killer.
Yeah, here we were, you know, throwing around ketchup and mortician wax and, you know, all kinds of silly stuff. And this woman standing in front of the theater, prior to standing in front of the theater, had been an accomplice to a murder. And there she was, the gall of her protesting my movie. You know, I mean,
well, she might have been a little unstable herself.
Yeah, probably.
Well, you bring up a good point, though, that not just females were killed in the film. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite scenes in the entire film was the couple sitting in the car, and he jumps up and he shoots through the window. It was awesome. Best part.
Actually, that particular murder sequence was based on and shot in the location where Son of Sam had shot at a couple. And that was under the Verrazano Bridge on the Brooklyn side of the Verrazano Bridge. That was the actual location where Son of Sam had committed a murder. And but obviously we took it and made it very theatrical. I think, guys, you want to maybe shut up over there because it's just getting on camera.
Is Joe as creepy in real life as he is on film, or was he kind of a ladies' man? Because he seems kind of intimidating, so I can only imagine what it'd be like to
He was both. He was both. He had Joe was a very sweet, sensitive man. He was. If you saw the documentary that's on the Maniac DVD, it really, I think, is an honest portrayal of a very troubled man, brilliant man. He was brilliant, he was troubled, he was a ladies' man, he was creepy, he was charming, he was all those things. He was an actor. He was a consummate actor in life as he was on screen or stage. He just had an amazing ability. Joe, I think women are often more seduced by a man who can talk than necessarily a beautiful, handsome man. There is women just are attracted to men who can talk, who can carry on a really interesting conversation, can get into their heads, can be funny, can be charming, and somehow that just makes that person, or in Joe's case, very attractive to a lot of women. And he had his fair share of beautiful women.
Okay, well, let's go on to your trilogy, Maniac Cop.
Okay.
Now, how did this even come about? Why do you not like cops? Where did the idea come from?
The idea for Maniac Cop came out of a lunch that I had with Larry Cohen. Larry had asked me why I had never done a sequel to the movie Maniac, and I told him I thought the film was not a sequelizable film. I just felt that it was it ended, and that's the way it should be. And we were sitting at this restaurant brainstorming, and out of the air came Maniac Cop. I mean, remember at the time it was RoboCop, Beverly Hills Cop, so it wasn't that original. You know, we just came up with the title Maniac Cop. But the key for me, which you didn't mention, was the copy line. You have the right to remain silent, ... forever. Which I thought was really the key to the project. That was, to me, that copy line is what motivated me to want to move forward with the project. And I have always been a fan of French Connection, as well as the Universal monster movies and the RKO film noirs. And Maniac Cop series gave me the opportunity to play in that world. And that's what I love the most about the Maniac Cop films. It allowed me to have a police procedural with a monster in a kind of a nighttime, RKO shadowy world.